So it's been a little bit over a year since Concord launched and then quickly fizzled out, unlaunched, was taken off of people's consoles, and, you know, unless you already had a physical copy or you were able to get one, which is what I did once I learned that it was being canceled entirely from like your local Walmart. Uh, it's been pretty much erased. But the lessons that we've learned from Concord should never be erased or forgotten. I think Concord was an example of a game that is good but not great within a genre that, while it offers extremely high ceilings in terms of earning potential, and that's why places like Sony will try to get as many swings at this genre as possible. It's also a genre that really can't support many concurrent live service successes, right? You have Overwatch, which of course Concord was very much in the vein of. That's still very successful. Not as successful as it once was, still successful. Marvel Rivals had a huge launch and then, went down, but still consistently successful. Fortnite obviously is the king of making money, but unless you do something that really changes the game, that really makes it so that players want to put down the other games that they're already putting their time, effort, and getting better, and most importantly, money into, then you're just going to be dead on arrival. And I think that the marketing for Concord didn't help, where people were like, this seems like it could be a fun single player game, but these characters maybe don't fit into a. But maybe these players don't necessarily, or these characters don't necessarily fit into a, hero shooter in the same way. And people just weren't excited. Like, when that first beta happened and people were like, it's fine, but then not that many people were playing it, you knew there was going to be trouble. It launched to low numbers, and to my surprise, I did think, one of the big problems with it was they were also charging $40 for it. I don't think we've really seen since like the original Overwatch, which was like just in the transitionary period between classic $60 games versus free to play and get people to buy in on battle passes and that stuff. We haven't seen any of these live service shooters be successful at like a somewhat high price point, right? We've only really seen like the free to play games have a chance to succeed. And so I thought that they would at least like make it free to play and give like either options for like returning it to the players who bought it full price or giving them like a lot of perks and extra goodies in the game. But they just completely were like, yeah, no, this is over. We're shutting down the studio. We're shutting the game down. And like, that was a disaster, quite frankly, and a huge surprise to me. And I just don't think that right now there's much of a market for live service games, but many companies believe there is and they want it. And on the one hand, it makes a lot of sense, right? If you do have a successful live service game, you're going to be making hundreds of millions, if not $1 billion. But you have to knock it out of the park. You can't just put out even just a good game. If you put a game out that's just good, chances are it's not going to work out. And you're going to be right where Concord is. So Concord's probably the most extreme example of a game like this, but we've seen others. Suicide Squad, I think you can get for a couple bucks now, and like the offline stuff doesn't really work. And The Avengers game is over. Anthem's getting shut down very soon. And Concord didn't even last a few months. So it's a weird thing where the video game industry and like the business interests within it are kind of stubborn. And those games or those studios rather, who take risks are the ones that get rewarded and kind of create these genres. I mean, look at Fortnite. Fortnite was a like tower defense game when it launched, and which it looked cool. I will say I was interested in it, and then that didn't really take off, and they pivoted to Battle Royale, and that became the biggest game ever. And, or at least in the modern times. I'm sure Tetris and Minecraft have something to say about biggest game ever, but you know what I'm saying. And that was because like the Battle Royale genre wasn't as oversaturated, right? You had like PUBG, H1Z1, King of the Kill, all of that stuff. But Fortnite was like the first like super mainstream one, and then you got a ton of followers there. But they were at like the forefront, and like Concord was probably a decade too late in what it was trying to do, in terms of what type of game it was, let alone being a game that was being relied on to potentially make tons of recurring revenue. So we'll see. I don't think this will stop Sony entirely, but you know, we've seen like The Last of Us online game that was supposed to come out also get canceled. So they've certainly like slowed down on these things, but we'll see what happens. Let me know your thoughts. Did you play Concord when it came out? What'd you think of it? Were you surprised that it got canceled so quickly? Leave any and all thoughts in the comments, and we'll see you in the next one.